So welcome everyone. Today's Friday, September 2nd, and this is the SES bi-weekly update. On this status update call, we'll be having a close look at the new, we believe, exciting product that the MakerSTS team released since yesterday, which is the Expenses Dashboard, a starting point for a much broader collaboration platform. So we're very excited to talk about this first release and dive a little into the details of what it contains and what you can already do with it. So without further ado, Lenka, you want to take it?
Thanks, Wouter. Hello, everyone. Hope you're having a nice Friday. Yeah, as mentioned, my name is Lenka. I'm a project lead of this exciting initiative we're having at SES, the Ecosystem Performance API and Dashboard. And today I'm happy to kickstart the third status update regarding this initiative with you. And it will be heavily focused around the dashboard, the first version of the dashboard we have launched just recently. And together with Jordan from our team, we'll be sharing with you some of the exciting things. So let's have a look at what's on the agenda today. So I'll give a very brief introduction to this initiative, what this is all about, and basically what you can expect when you look at the dashboard. But to get a closer understanding of this, Jordan will take you through the core user problems that we have detected, assessed, and are looking to resolve with this initiative and with this release. Furthermore, he'll take you through the overview of the various levels of information that the dashboard offers, and also gives you a taste of what other data insights there are possible to be gained either through the API or other UI or visualizations tool. Then I'll share with you briefly what are our next steps in terms of this initiative, important call to action of onboarding more users to get more data, a little bit about our team and who to contact in case of specific questions, and then we would like to have a brief discussion with you as well towards the end. So to introduce this initiative, which we named MakerDAO Ecosystem Performance API and Dashboard, we're basically talking about an initiative that aims to increase transparency and accountability across the DAO. A couple of the values that we strongly hold at SES, and I believe everyone else shares with us at the DAO. We have also identified that there is a lot of information, and finding this information in various formats creates a significant burden. So we have been focusing on ways of finding solutions to how to reduce this information search cost. And this is basically the solution, one of the solutions we came up with. Furthermore, to tie this to the SES mission, we are working towards removing barriers between the decentralized capital, workforce, and work. In this case, capital, we're talking about the expenses to the DAO and core unit budgets. Workforce, we're talking about the DAO contributors, specifically core unit members, and work, what initiatives and projects are ongoing. Furthermore, in this release, we'll be talking about basically some of the core functions that the dashboard offers. First off, at a super high level, it provides you with an overview of all the MakerDAO core units, but we are focusing very much into the capital, decentralized capital. So within this release, the core units can easily submit their expense reports and rolling forecasts, and equally the core units, but also their auditors can easily access and review these monthly budgets with the help of the dashboard. And to tie the initiative into three core components, we're talking about the dashboard user interface, the front end that we're releasing now. We're also talking about a way to provide easy access to the information, and also ability or like a platform for easy reporting and analytics on the budget reports. This is just a foundation for more advanced analytics and summaries we are planning to provide in the future. And to mention a couple things we had in mind when bringing you this first release, it's responsiveness, mobile experience. You can save this link to your mobile phone and access it with one click, and also dark mode that is very popular in the community. When it comes to budget tool, this is basically a tool that allows core units to push their data in a secure and convenient way to the API. As mentioned, we'll be onboarding more core units to get more complete data, and currently we're at the third release of the budget tool. We'll be sharing the links as well. In terms of API, this is the last big piece of the puzzle. API provides data automation and accessibility. It also enables other third-party UIs, independent data analysis, and wider adoption by the community. We'll also share the link to the API. So this was a brief introduction of the initiative, what's in this release, and three core components. But let's dive into first the problems we're solving, and secondly the release itself. So I'll give the screen to Jordan now to share with you that part.
Yes, thank you, Micah. So let me just share my screen here. There we go. So yeah, so basically all of this really started with identifying sort of problems within the DAO that we thought that, you know, some type of interface or some type of dashboard as well as API could really solve for. And yeah, so how we did this is we spoke with key stakeholders within the DAO, sort of these what we call data consumers, sort of kind of like delegates, MKR holders, as well as data contributors. These are more like, you know, core units, which we kind of focused on first. So we identified a bunch of problems, I think, you know, 6 or 7 through talking to these different stakeholders within the DAO, but really identified these 3 as like the 3 core, the most acute problems that we saw in the DAO that we thought we could sort of tackle first, for lack of a better phrase. And we really, you know, I would implore everybody to maybe keep these questions in mind that I'm going to briefly go over when I sort of show the first release and the UI and the product that we have firstly developed to sort of tackle some of these problems. So the first thing is that, you know, we found that data is just kind of way too fragmented in the DAO. This meme, maybe for lack of a better phrase, has emerged of the search costs being really high within the DAO, and this really impacts the decision quality to a degree. And these are answering questions like, you know, how do I get in contact with a facilitator? How many core units are there? Things like that. Things that, you know, may seem quite basic, but it actually is really hard to get the answers to these somewhat simplistic questions. Also, it's really hard to keep up with core unit progress and general well-being. That's another problem that we identified. Yeah, so, you know, questions like how do I find out more about this core unit? How do you even know what this core unit is working on? You know, how do you know what value the core unit provides relative to what the DAO or where the DAO is going? And one that has been talked about quite a bit, if you ever, you know, venture into the forum, is this notion of money flow. Where does the money go? How is it being spent? How should that spend be justified? And yeah, a lot of questions here that hopefully can be answered within the dashboard. You know, such as how much is a core unit spending? What's the trend of that spend? And then even being able to see to a degree exactly what money is being spent on. So with that, yeah, I'm very sort of excited to share with you and to go through the ecosystem performance dashboard, the first release, and really trying to solve some of these core problems that I just spoke about. So with that, I would love to first somewhat demonstrate this core unit overview page, which really is trying to help stakeholders within the DAO easily find and compare all core units. And if you keep these questions in mind of, these somewhat simplistic questions, how do you find the core unit facilitator? How do you find the team? How many core units are there? Simple questions like this. Keep these in mind, and you'll see how this, a page like this is somewhat extremely useful. So here we can see all core units within the DAO. We can easily segment between or sort between the spend that they have been spending over the last little while. A very interesting feature that I personally like quite a bit is to get a really easy glimpse of the spend trend to a degree. So these 3 bars here are basically the latest 3 months that a core unit has pushed to the API of their budget information. And you can just get a really quick glance. Okay, how much did they actually spend in, for example, May? And it's relative to the budget cap. So you can see, okay, was it close to the budget cap? Was it low? And these colors give a sort of indication of the sort of financial health to a degree, if you put it that way. Also, you can get quick links, to very, again, simplistic but important information within the DAO that's somewhat hard to find all the time. Like, for example, here with Dux, we can easily get a link to their website and go, and boom, we can find more about what Dux is working on, other things like that we can really sort of get up to speed with a specific core unit and not have to waste time running around and trying to find this sort of basic information. Then if we move to the sort of next problem that we're trying to tackle here, which is really about the core unit about page and trying to enable all stakeholders within the DAO to discover the most important aspects of individual core units. Again, simple questions like, what is the mandate of this core unit, and what is it that they're working on? What's their mission? What's their vision? What's their strategy, and how does that sort of relate to the broader vision of the DAO? Now, with this page, this is actually pulled from the MIPS portal. It's specifically the sort of MIP 39, where we can get at a glance view of what is this core unit about? What are they doing? What's their strategy? What are they focused on? Very interesting information that you can get at a glance. And then even more specific information around the team size. So every core unit has a team size that for now, we have just asked facilitators one-on-one or to provide this information. So that's where it's coming from. And then again, we can get contact information for everybody who's opted in, especially the facilitator. And so you can always get in touch with them. You can always, find out more or get in touch with them to talk to them about specific questions that you might have about their core unit or what they're working on. Now, maybe most anticipated here, or most acutely needed, I guess you could say, within the DAO is this notion of core unit finances. And really, what we hope this page enables for stakeholders is that it can sort of, enable stakeholders to understand core unit costs relative to their mandate and how these costs are changing over time. So this is, specific questions like, again, how much is this core unit spending? What is money being spent on? What will the future financial needs of this core unit be? And this is where you can really make a judgment call. Does it make sense? Does it make sense for this core unit to be spending this amount, both now and perhaps in the future? So this is the expense page, the finances page, and first it automatically defaults to the most recent month with data. So, for example, here the DUX core unit, the most recent month they have pushed is for August. But if it wasn't the case, then it would, if for some reason they had not pushed for August, they would just default to the latest month with data populated. And here you can go back, you can go back through previous months and you can understand, what has this sort of financial situation here been. And you can look at actuals, which is of course the actual spend. You can look at forecasts, and you can see what the maybe future of this core unit will have been pushed. And here there's some sections where we have sort of given a view of what is to come, but there's certainly sections that are have not been yet populated. And if we move down on the page, we can even see at a more granular level what money has been being spent on. And it's broken out into two main categories of headcount expenses and non-headcount expenses. And again, we can really start to see a sort of granular view of the expenses within the DAO, but specifically at the core unit level, which is quite useful. Now, moving forward, something that we expressed early on is that this is really sort of an API first approach to this financial data and other data, forthcoming other data within the DAO. So what this is actually the API, and what this API allows is for more technically capable users to interact directly with the data of the ecosystem performance dashboard. So this is actually using Apollo Graph Explorer, and what that allows users to do is to construct a query exactly to their needs. So it lists all of the attributes of the database, which you can see here on the left-hand side of this graph, or of this UI screenshot. Once this data once this query is constructed, then exactly to the needs of the more technical user, allows this user to sort of download all of these things to a CSV or a JSON file, and they can sort of do whatever they like with it, and construct their own sort of bespoke insights, I guess you could say. And as an example of some of these insights, and to give you a sort of sneak peek of some more data constructions, or more insights that will be coming both within the dashboard as well as just generally published within the DAO for consumption among stakeholders, is new and interesting constructions and things that we can do, or insights that we can surface with this data. So for example, here, we have a snapshot of MakerDAO expenses for June. And given that we have core units pushing this budget information for example, their actual spend, and we have the FTEs, we have FTEs per core unit, we can start to see very interesting things. So for example, the actual spend per FTE, and we can see that trending over time. Is it up or is it down? All of these very interesting insights that we can start to surface and have maybe a bit more of an objective conversation within the DAO around spending, around FTEs, around initiatives, and other very useful data that comes from core units. So with that, I will pass it back to Lenka and let her talk about some of the next steps.
Thank you, Jordan. So let me resume sharing from my end. Okay, perfect. I promised you a couple of next steps. This is the first release of the dashboard, and our plan is to do a new release every month, which means that the iterations will be slightly smaller. But regardless, some of the near future goals that we have is definitely focusing on that the data is complete and correct. So for completeness, that includes heavy onboarding of the remaining core units so that we can provide the information for all expenses. We are very appreciative of the I think it's 7 core units that have volunteered after a previous update and have been also providing us with a very important user feedback and suggestions for improving the tools further. We have also prepared onboarding sessions for the core units to smoothen this friction as much as possible and make it a pleasant process and appreciated by all parties. Then, in terms of completeness and correctness, I have mentioned auditors. So we would like to give more visibility in terms of who is the auditor of core unit and enable more features that will help demonstrate the correctness of the data. As well, there are a lot of iterative improvements in terms of user experience, tools, etc. So we'll be focusing on this. But our end goal or our large goal is for this dashboard to be transferred into a primary collaboration tool for all DAO stakeholders. And that also includes adding more features, adding more data, and targeting a broader user base, including more the core problems that delegates and MKR holders have as well. Further down, I would like to mention the very important step that we're preparing for, and that is making sure that we get all the remaining core units onboarded to the budget tool smoothly, as smooth as possible in the shortest possible time. So I'll be sharing a couple of links with you, and I'll be reaching out to these core units to ensure that we get the data completeness as soon as possible. If any of you find any incomplete information or something that is missing, we also appreciate if you let us know. We actually have a dedicated channel to this in our Discord, or we are available to be contacted via DM.
Yeah, Linka, there is actually a very relevant question here from Peyton. He's asking, what are the automation options available for the dashboard? Gov Alpha's numbers are in a public spreadsheet. So this is what the budget tool facilitates, right?
Yes. So the way we have set up budget tool for now was that we have 2 sort of templates that we have been using as the input for the budget tool, and it's the SES and the strategic finance one. So I don't know if this spreadsheet is following one of these, or we just need to create a tweak, but it should be relatively simple because the input to budget tool was through the spreadsheets using various tags, and then this data was pushed to API and also visualized in the dashboard.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, GovAlpha is actually following the template of strategic finance.
Perfect.
But as Lenka mentioned, the budget tool is actually quite flexible. So if you have your own format, it's a matter of putting the right keywords on top of the columns that you have. And as long as you have actual numbers and forecast, then the tool should be able to pick that up and push all the data. Of course, also the month and the category, push all the data to the API, and then makes it immediately visible on the dashboard.
Yes, and on top of that, I also wanted to introduce or remind you of who is behind the success we have achieved so far. And I also want to give a shout out to Claudia, who has been very helpful in terms of troubleshoot various budget statement issues and the improvement. So I'm sure you'll be in good hands. All right. So just to wrap it up, our team consists of me, Jordan. Walter is actually acting as our product owner. Claudia, who's helping with the budget statement help. Jack, who is behind the databases, and Petru, who is behind the budget tool and API. So please feel free to reach out to us. And we also want to give a shout out to the Spot team, who has been helping us with the development of the front end of the dashboard. So we really appreciate the collaboration. Yeah, now I would love to open it to questions.
Yes, and there is already one question from Tim, who's asking, how does this dashboard fit into that other idea that was brought up by one of the SES members, which is to do project-based budgeting. So maybe, Lenka, you can talk a little bit about how not just financials, but also the work output will become part of the dashboard.
Yes, absolutely. So the decentralized work is also an important area for us to address. And as you see right now, we have focused on the finances, but of course that's only fully meaningful if you have it tied to the work and workforce. So the new idea with the project-based, sorry, I missed the last part of the acronym, budgeting. Since we haven't really gone deep into like designing the interfaces for this yet, we're pretty flexible, and we should follow the trend of adoption and acceptance of this proposal from the community. So we would like to provide insights both at the core unit level and at the DAO level when it comes to decentralized work. Sorry, that's a very brief answer, but Walter, if you have anything to add, feel free.
Yeah, what I would like to add is that we hope that this becomes part of a general trend where rather than defining these complicated, sometimes processes that are to be followed manually, despite the awful awesome support of GovAlpha and others to help everyone in the community to follow these processes. It is still a lot of a mental lift to know exactly what you need to do, to know where to go, to know who to talk to, etc., to correctly follow the process. To, for example, propose your project and request a budget. And we hope that with the dashboard, this will kick off a general trend of translating these processes more into software, where instead of proposing a new process, maybe a new feature would be proposed to the dashboard. And project-based budgeting, I think, is a typical example of that. If we add a module at one point that allows core units to document the projects that they're working on, then it could be a next step to add a budgeting feature to that, so that this becomes a part of the dashboard and becomes really easy and obvious for everyone to use that feature. So I don't see any other questions so far. If you still have a question or comment, feel free to put it in chat. Yes, I do see people getting excited about this. So really nice to see that we managed to make something that people like. Lenka is also putting the links in chat to the API, and then also the data analytics dashboard example. So yeah, if there are no more questions, then we'll keep it at this. Everyone is, of course, invited to continue the discussion on the forum. Yeah, be on the lookout for future releases. We are planning to release on a monthly basis with incremental improvements to make this tool better with every month. So thanks everyone for joining. Thanks Lenka and Jordan for the presentation. And yeah, everyone enjoy your weekend.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Bye.